let's go ahead and get things started. Pat, why don't you go for it?
Okay,
Make it
sounds
happen.
good. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to, I believe this is our first regional event. And so this is a few chapters represented here. What I'd like to do is welcome the chapter leadership from, we have two chapters in California, is that correct? Northern and Southern California. We also have the Cascadia chapter, and we have the Arizona chapter. Did I forget a chapter? Okay, so welcome leadership and members. Again, well, this is kind of an experiment for us. We're looking at hosting quarterly meetings. So maybe each chapter would be able to kind of host it, and we come together as a region. And this is really great that we can meet virtually and we can have, you understand what some of the best practices and what some of the other chapters are doing. It's a smaller group, but it's probably a larger group than maybe individually some of us chapters have really been able to muster and get together. And then finally, I just really want to do a plug for volunteerism. We all have our own experiences, and Renee Hoekstra, who's our current Save International president, she often refers to being voluntold. And so we try not to do that here. We're looking at volunteer opportunities. So look to see how we can get involved with our local chapters. And there's going to be an opportunity after this networking event, which networking educational event that I'm super, super stoked about, that we're going to be able to potentially break out as chapters and conduct some chapter business. My name is Pat Miller. I don't think I even introduced myself. I am the current, actually outgoing president of the Arizona chapter. And after this event, we will have the opportunity to break out into our chapters and to discuss how we can, grow our chapters, have some events, share value stories and best practices. So with that, I think let's get the party started from a standpoint of introductions. Joey, I'm going to turn it over to you then. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Pat. So I am from our LA chapter, Greater LA chapter, and also get to serve on in a volunteer basis. Wasn't voluntold with the Western Regional manager support. So trying to support all the Western Regional chapters. And so I am excited to kind of be here and facilitate this kickoff event, an experimental experience. And excited to get feedback from all of you as we do this. So some things to get started to make our meeting a little bit more fun and engaging. If you are not talking, just to help avoid some of the background noise, please mute yourself just so we can hear each other. The other thing is, when we're going through this experience, want to make sure that if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat or unmute yourself because we have such a small group. And also, if you hear anything, when we're going to have a lot of report outs, we're going to do a lot of breakouts. If there's any discussion that's being had, someone shares an idea that you really like or resonates with you, go ahead and put it in the chat. Say like, oh, that's a great idea. I love that. Oh, I'm going to try that when I go back to my client with my clients. So, let's reaffirm and support one another. And also because we're going to be going through some stuff that is not what we're typically used to, I'm inviting you to be comfortable being uncomfortable today. So that just means that be ready to grow, and we're going to do some stuff that's different. But the most important thing, the last thing on that list is let's have fun together and really enjoy our time together. So if these are helpful and you all are on board with that, go ahead and unmute yourselves and say, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Do this.
Good.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Pat, for that enthusiasm. Great. I also want to just invite, if you have a camera and you don't have it on, go ahead and turn it on. Unless you're having bandwidth problems, it'd be great to see your faces while we're going through this so we can see everyone. So to get things started, let's get to know everyone in the room. And we're going to use a little technique called a chatterfall. And so what we're going to do first is I'm going to post a question into the chat. And just like a waterfall, on the count of 3, once you type in your response in the chat, you're going to submit. So don't hit submit until we count to 3. So for example, the first question I'm going to pose is what chapter or region you're in. So I'm going to type that into the chat. What chapter or region do you live in? So go ahead and type in your response, but don't hit submit yet. We're not going to hit submit until the count of 3. Oh, Renee. Oh, there's always one person that always is. On the count of 3, we're going to hit submit. 1, 2, 3. Where's everyone from? Let's scroll through and see. Honestly, not sure. Is it Gabriel? Or Gabriel, where do you live?
I'm near Portland. I'm in Lake Oswego.
Okay, so you know that you're in Portland, so you're not unsure about that. You just don't know that you're part of the Cascadia chapter yet.
That's the one. Thank you.
There we go. Samantha, same with you. You're up in Portland, right?
Correct.
So you are also part of Cascadia. Oh, we got Florida represented too. Thanks, Michael. And a lot of Arizona folks. Wow, Pat really did a good job recruiting everyone. Way to represent everyone. And Canada. Thanks, Tammy. Oh, in the Gulf. Cool, we got a lot of people here. So next question. So this is kind of starting to get into why we're here today. And so I want you to think about one thing that you really liked about in-person meetings. What was one thing that you really liked about in-person meetings? Don't hit submit, Renee. Wait a second. Wait a second. And on the count of 3, we're all going to hit submit. So go ahead and think about that one thing that you liked about or loved about in-person meetings. On the count of 3, let's all hit submit. 1, 2, 3. So before we jump into the next question, let's take a second to read through this. I'll let you all scan it yourselves. So I'm just looking at nonverbal cues, the networking, the social aspect, the connections, meeting new people, sitting down together, dinners, engagement. Take a second, you skim through and see what else you see that stands out for you. To know each other. Khaled, you got that last one in. Got that last one in, to know each other. Well, let's ask the next question. So what's one thing you like about virtual meetings? What's one thing that you've liked about virtual meetings? Give you a second to think about that. And some of you, it actually might be some of the same things that people liked about in-person meetings that you can do or virtually. But on the count of 3, let's go ahead and hit submit and see what everyone put. 1, 2, 3. Pat, I'm with you. Wear slippers. I mean, you're lucky I'm on camera right now because I'd still be in my pajamas at 5 p.m. Avoiding COVID. Go ahead and take a second and read through this. See what stands out, what resonates for you. So like we said, today this whole meeting is about engaging the team. And we want to bring in some of the best practices that each of you have had. And we're kind of sharing and already started that discussion with seeing what really matters, what people have liked about being in person and what people have liked about virtual settings. And so what we're going to do for the next amount of time is start to unpack that a little bit more. And we're going to be using a process known as appreciative inquiry, which is based on positive psychology. And there's some aspects that are really similar to VE. So thinking about the information phase and the creativity phase of value engineering, appreciative inquiry is designed with a discovery phase and a dreaming phase. And those are kind of the two components that we're really going to be using and focusing on today. So what we're about to go into now, and I'm going to get this set up, is we're going to do some breakouts. And what we're going to do is put you in pairs to share stories. And let me make sure I got the right number of breakouts here. So most of you will be in pairs, some of you will be in trios, but what we're going to do is take the first half of this meeting to really unpack the best things about in-person meetings. And so I want you to story tell in these pairs and share what was the best experience you ever had, either in a virtual VE study, excuse me, not virtual, a VE study or a meeting in person. Best experience you ever had. And I've got a couple questions to kind of help prompt you on this story journeyed story. You're going to be thinking about what was the best in-person VE study or meeting you've ever experienced? What made that experience the best for you? And there might be some components that you've already shared. And then how did those experiences make you feel? Those are kind of three questions that you're going to be pondering on. And so if you're in pairs, we're going to do this for about 10 minutes. And in those pairs, for the first 5 minutes, one person is going to share their story, talk about that time that they experienced the best meeting or best VE study, and the other person's just going to listen and ask questions. So in the chat, and I'll broadcast this in the breakouts, those are the three questions to start with. And once 5 minutes is up, and I'll let you know when that timer goes, switch roles. And so the next person will get to share their story while the other person asks the questions and listens. So as we're getting ready to jump into this, what questions do you have to make sure that it's clear on what you are about to do? If this makes sense to everyone, can I use your reactions in the Zoom and give a thumbs up? Or if you have your camera, thanks Renee, Phil, Javier, Wade, Sam. Is it Mushtaq? How do I pronounce your name?
That's perfect.
Okay, good. Thumbs up. Raven. I saw Terry. Good. Javier, Pat, Gabriel. Good. So at least someone in your pairs is going to know what you're doing, even if you don't, judging by half the thumbs going up. So that's okay. That means that when you get in there, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask your partner. And if they don't still know, there should be a help button that you can ping me and I will jump into your room and help walk you through this whole process. So I am going to send you off into random assignments. And I need to just make one adjustment.
And how do we come back to the main session, main room?
Thanks, good question. There's a question, and that's a good one. You will get pulled back in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So you will have 10 minutes to be in that room together. And then after that time, you will automatically get pulled back into this main session. Any other questions? I don't see hands. No? All right. Let's do this. And again, ask your partner for help, answer those questions, or hit the help button and I'll come in and support you. That's what we're here for, supporting each other. All right, let's do this. Enjoy. So hopefully some of you got a chance to share stories. It looks like some of the technology wasn't working, so some people were sitting in the room quiet by themselves. Tried to move some folks, but If you didn't get to share a story with someone else, I hope you got to share a story with yourself.
They're still working out the kinks for breakout rooms.
We're still working out the kinks, no matter how long we've been facilitating virtually. Hopefully you've gotten to share, like I said, either a VE study or a meeting that you were a part of and something that worked really well about it. And maybe you got to not only hear their story, but you got to hear what aspects of it worked really well. And if you even got to go another layer deeper, you got to hear how they felt about it, what feelings came up for them for that. So just want to check in with the group, and maybe we can get a couple volunteers before we jump into the next part. Is those in-person meetings. Does anyone want to share either their story or what struck them? Or share your partner's story if you were in a room with someone. Pat?
So my colleague Raven served as a civil team member for a school district project in Washington, and her role was as a civil engineer. And one of the things she said she really liked about the in-person was like the site visits, things that you can do, you can move around. But she was impressed with, found interesting, it was new experience for her, the 9/11 retrofits and seeing how those worked within a school structure. But one of the things that she noticed was the ball field. It was a school district, or it was a school that was going to be contiguous with a park, and the park was soggy. And so one of the observations I had from what she was saying is the question that asking the right question drives the answer. And so she had asked the question like, hey, is there an as-built for this play field? Because then maybe we could take a look at the under drain system. And so she dug a little bit further and called the park district. She she really was engaged and really got excited, but asking the right question drove the answer. So that really touched me when she said that, because I think lots of times that's what happens during the information phase. And I'll pass.
Thanks, Pat. Raven, thanks for allowing Pat to share that story. That curiosity and just asking the right question, something that was great and in person, and something that you can still recreate in virtual spaces. And actually, one of the other things that you mentioned about being out at site visits, and I see a lot of people are sitting down. So why don't we do a quick second before we hear from one other person and stand up and stretch. We've been 30 minutes sitting here in front of the computer. So why don't you everyone stand up and stretch. So I'm going to stand up and bring in my laptop with me. If you can, move your arms around a little bit. If you're really talented, why don't you do like the wave or something? You can't see it, but I'm trying. And get a little movement going. Don't feel that, if we're doing a VE study and or a meeting that we're workshop, whatever we're doing with our clients or team members, we have to be sitting the entire time. We can do that, and not just during breaks.
Yeah. Can we do that in the workshop?
Yeah, why not? It's your workshop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share their story or share their partner's story? Got time for one more. Or maybe Renee will volunteer tell you that you're going to have to share your story.
Not my meeting today. This is yours.
I could pull one and share Pat's story real quickly.
Sure, go for it.
She was also working on a school project, a VE, and it was with the Indian tribe in New Mexico. And there were people there from Bureau of Indian Affairs and Indian Education and the architect. And there was definitely some tension and hostility in the room between team members. The architect actually made a statement about no one changing their plans with a little bit more profanity than I just said. And anyway, it was really through the information phase that people, the body language and everything started to relax instead of, arms crossed. People were starting to understand things, and the tempers were cooled. And when the initial information phase was done and they started getting further in the workshop, there were people there that were supposed to leave that actually asked to stay. So it really turned into I don't trust this process and I don't really want to be here, but I have to wow, this is really engaging, this is positive, and came out with a really great result.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to work through those challenges. And Pat, I guess, and Raven too, like, Raven, how did it feel hearing that story of like dealing with that and coming out the other end with that relationship?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I do a lot of, well, in my former career, I'm now very newly self-employed after 30 years in the public sector. You're always looking at ways to dispel conflict. And so I never thought of VE as a way of just dispelling conflict, but hey, it's just another reason why this is a great process.
Pat, how about you? Actually going through and experiencing that, how did that make you feel?
It reaffirmed the process to me, but also the maybe the secondary and tertiary benefits of the process. A mentor of mine once said, "Trust the process," and so I do.
Trust the process. That could be a tattoo that we all should get, facilitating VE studies. Trust the process. So I'm about to ask you to get uncomfortable. This is the part where we stretch a little bit, especially with being many of us being engineers and being in that space. I'm gonna ask you to go to the chat, and the question, we're gonna do another chatterfall. What feelings did you have? So going back to the stories that you shared, coming out of that conflict resolution, or just the connections that were made, what did it feel like for you? Like sense of pride? Was it warmth, comfort, satisfaction? Was it curiosity, like asking that right question that came about? Why don't you go ahead and in the chat, and right now, this is the touchy-feely part. How did it make you feel? Because if it was the best part of a meeting that you're describing, it probably won't make you feel angry. It'll make you feel like complete or satisfied. And on the count of 3, go ahead and hit submit. So think about that story you shared, the best part of the meeting or the VE study that you were a part of, and how did it make you feel once you actually got through that? Good. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Comfortable, inspiring, sense of pride and accomplishment, aha moment, servant leader, self-worth, confidence, yeah, accomplishment, satisfying. Comfortable. It's felt great. Challenging. Awesome. I am not going to give you a lecture on psychology, but in virtual spaces, belief. Thanks, Javier. We're not trying to recreate the exact experience that we had in in-person meetings. What we're actually trying to recreate are the feelings. So the feelings that you had during those experiences, it's not the experience that self that you're trying to recreate in a virtual space. It's the feeling that you're trying to recreate. And so what we ask you to do is to come with the best practices in virtual space that you've had. And what we're going to do now is, instead of going into pairs, we're going to go into like quads, fours, and kind of building off of those best experiences that we had with in-person meetings, and thinking through like that feeling that we had from being comfortable, of feeling accomplished, that self-worth either you felt and possibly your teammates felt from getting through all that together in VE studies or meetings. Let's talk through and share, how do we recreate those feelings? And this is where we want you to kind of brainstorm. This is that creative phase, or in appreciative inquiry, this is the dreaming phase, where bring your best practices, because your best practice might be something new for one of the people that's in your room that they haven't heard or tried yet. So we want to bring those best practices that have worked for you in virtual spaces to recreate those feelings. So let me copy this question again. Copy this question for the first time, not again. So how do we recreate those feelings in a different experience? So what you're brainstorming on is the feelings. If you want to think of the function is the feeling itself, in a very loose term, not following our standard function analysis. But what you're brainstorming in is on that feeling. How do we recreate that feeling? And so we're going to go into breakouts of 4. So there should be at least one other person in the room, so you're not by yourself, for those of you that were. And we're going to take, let's see how much time we've got. Well, let's take we've got time for 10 minutes. Give you 10 minutes to just kind of brainstorm together and share your best practices on recreating those feelings. So let's say I'm in a room with Lori and Caitlin and Khaled. Maybe my feeling was this sense of curiosity. And I'm struggling with trying to create this sense of curiosity in a VE study virtually. Well, we know that Raven's got some ideas on asking the right questions. Maybe Lori, Caitlin, Khaled, you've had some experience with what types of questions I could ask that help me demonstrate that level of curiosity. So let's go ahead and do that. Any questions before we break out? Ahmed, you look confused. I'm just checking in on you. Are you tracking? You can be honest with me. Does that make sense? Does this make sense?
Oh, he's muted, so.
Ahmed, you're muted. Are you tracking? I want a thumbs up if you're good.
Yeah, talking to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we tracking? Good.
Yeah, good. Go ahead. Yeah.
Then quick thumbs up from everyone else. Are we all tracking? You're gonna. Awesome. All right, Doug's got double thumbs, and so is Javier. Let's do this, and
Yeah.
let's see what we come up with, and share our best practices and recreate those feelings. The breakouts that you just were a part of, we don't have a lot of time, but why don't we go ahead and maybe 1 or 2 groups, since we've heard from Pat and Raven. I want to make sure we hear from some other voices in the room. No offense, Raven or Pat. But any other groups that would like to share? Any best practices that they shared that worked really well for them, or anything that they learned, a new insight or new learning from one of your teammates?
Actually, I wanted to show everyone, I noticed that we have a lot of international participation. And sometimes when I have an international team, I like to bring everyone into a poll everywhere, where everyone shows where they're reporting in from. So I actually want to send you guys a link in the chat. Well, here's my screen, poll everywhere. If you go to pollev.com/philipmoke711 and then just type your name, you can put in, make a location pin as to where you're reporting in from. And I think this would be good for us anyways, since we have so many international participants. But it's a good way of, you know, having everyone participate and then show like, oh yeah, we're coming from different places, but we're here as one team. So if you guys want to go to that URL, let's see if I can go back to regular screen.
I just typed it into the chat, so if you want to just click on the link.
Oh, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, so we got someone from Canada, someone from, looks like Washington, LA, one from LA, Florida, New York. Cool. Oh, someone's in the Pacific Ocean there.
That's me. I just couldn't figure out how to put it down in Washington.
Oh, it's all right. We have a few people from Washington.
I was not able to get into it. It won't let me. It says it's not supported, but I'm from Kitchener, Ontario.
Oh, okay.
So someone want to add me there? Kitchener, Ontario.
And then, so we'll have it, and at the end of it, you know, we'll take a screenshot, and I can give it to Joey to show like, oh yeah, you really got some good international participation going on here. So that's what it looks like now. Yeah. Wait, does everyone have all the pins, or you just have your own pin?
Oh, it's good. We can see everything, what you're seeing.
Great. And that's how we end up with, you know, say we have some team members from Asia or the Middle East, and yeah.
Oh, somebody's from Papua New Guinea? That's interesting. Who would that be?
I just wanted to mix it up. I dropped it all the way out there.
Okay. Interesting.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, no problem.
That's good.
Stop my share now.
So that's one tool that you can use to engage the team, especially if your team's dispersed internationally. Any other best practices, any other thoughts before we wrap up and hand over to Arnicia and then allow for chapters to meet up and breakouts? Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
Well, this is Arnicia. I just learned about Miro, so I'm going to look that up before my next Miro. Yes, okay. So it sounds like a good tool to use for studies as well, and keeping everyone engaged and interacted and able to submit responses quick time so everyone can see it. So thank you for sharing, Ahmed and Tammy.
Thank you.
Is that MIRO?
Oh, MIRO.
Okay, thanks.
They can, I mean, I don't know if Ahmed wants to go in a little bit further.
Okay.
Miro is a great tool.
So,
If you
yeah,
love
Miro,
using flip charts in person, yeah.
Yeah. I have
Yep.
I have been used Bugle for multiple workshops. Like the credit goes to my friend Philip Mock, with the first one who introduced the Mural to me, and we have taken it forward. It's the best thing in Mural that it is visualized. You can be visual while you are virtual. So it's not only about just you talk to people, it's about sharing your thoughts in a way that lets everyone think together, draw together. They can share their thoughts, they can share their ideas in a way that will let everyone engage it and will not then be busy with another thing. Because usually when you are online, you feel that people is working on another application, they are opening their email, they are doing another stuff while you are asking them to do something. So when you can see the cursors of everyone is moving around, and you ask to be followed, and you let people follow me, and I would like to focus on a certain topic, and then you found out that you have 15 persons in the workshop while you have only 3 persons following you. So you need to you need to say something is going wrong, John. Let's again come here and let's focus on the topic. it has been good, and our learning curve is growing using the mural along with any other video conferencing tool like Zoom or Microsoft Teams.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Philip.
Thanks again, Phil. And Ahmed, thanks for sharing that with Anicia. Before I hand it off, I just want to say thank you, everyone. We're setting up the breakout rooms. This was kind of a fun experiment and experience for me. But also the hour that we just got to spend together was also an engagement tool. I don't know if you realize 2 breakouts in less than an hour. You were forced in small groups to have to engage and interact with one another. So that in itself creates an opportunity to think about how we show up and how we facilitate our meetings, and just how we show up and have fun. So Arnicia, over to you.
Unmute. Okay, first I want to thank everyone for joining our meeting today. This has been phenomenal for me. I mean, I was kind of multitasking in the beginning because kids and everything. That's the whole virtual world we're living in. But I really learned a lot from you all. So let me first thank our chapter leaders. We have our chapter presidents. We have SAVE presidents, a president and leaders on the call, on the Zoom call. So I want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you all for registering to sign up. I hope that you all found this to be informative as well as encouraging for your next virtual meeting. And you got to see other chapter members, live and in action. So hopefully we can keep this engagement going for, the next 2 or 3 months when we meet again. So I know one thing that's on your mind is PDUs. Please email Giuseppe. He will provide that information to you if you're looking for the PDUs for certification. Please do that. And last, I want to just say, please stay engaged with your chapters. After this, we're going to have separate chapter breakout sessions. Some chapters may not have breakout sessions, but if you can, that'd be great. And volunteer if you have time. We have several positions I know in Greater LA chapter and in the other chapters where you can volunteer, even if it's 2 hours a month, but something to assist with some of the positions that we have, and also to help with getting membership, increasing membership. I know it's difficult with virtual, but if we can, that'll be a great thing for our organization. So again, thank you all. Thank you, Giuseppe, for getting us all engaged and online and in this call, in this meeting. So we were a little worried at first when we met with Pat, but it turned out great. So I'm really happy. And so thank you all. I don't want to stay too long, but thank you all. We're hitting 6:02. So I look forward to seeing everyone again in a couple of months.